often ends up being prosecuted, believe it or not, for prostitution. That's got to end. That's got to end. Someone who is being used as a tool, someone who is a slave, quite literally, and I use that word knowing exactly what it means. Someone who is a slave, specifically a minor who is a slave, cannot be held accountable for what they're forced to do. And I'm going to go one step beyond that, guys. I'm going to go one step beyond that, and I mean it with every fiber of my being. I don't know if y'all know this, but in the past couple of years, there have been young women who have been prosecuted for killing the people who enslaved them. As far as I'm concerned, that's self-defense.
Yep.
All right? Holding people accountable for trying to exercise their rights while someone else is stealing their life from them is completely unacceptable. We have got our priorities completely upside down on this one. So, what I'm getting at is, I love this man. He is deeply involved, not only in paying attention to what's going on in his community, but also in making changes at all levels. So he's engaged on the local level. He's engaged on the community level. What is it, Community 101?
Community 101.
He's built an organization called Community 101. He's educating himself, but also he's engaging on the government level. Now, what is the government's actual responsibility in this? The government's responsibility is not to keep an eye on your neighborhood. The government's responsibility is not to direct your child's life so that your child ends up being what the government wants them to be. Whatever the government decides safe is. The government's job is to uphold and defend your children and my children and all these other kids, uphold and defend their individual natural rights. They have a right to life, to liberty, and to the pursuit of happiness. And anyone who deprives of those rights needs to pay and pay severely. So that's the next point. We need a judiciary that will actually enforce the laws that we're not enforced, but will actually interpret the laws that we have in such a way that the people who are committing these crimes against children pay dearly. If you have stolen someone's life, you have surrendered your right to a life. If you have stolen someone's liberty, you have surrendered your right to your liberty. If you have stolen someone's opportunity to pursue happiness, there will never be an opportunity for you to pursue any kind of happiness ever again, as far as I'm concerned. That's the judiciary. Now, to back up the judiciary and give them the tools that they need to execute this mission, we need the legislature to provide the legislation that actually is clear, that is functional, and that is useful in these situations. All right, so what am I getting at here? Well, first of all, whoever coordinates this needs to pay big time. That sounds, that's more like RICO. So which is worse? Which is worse? Is it worse to kill one person, or is it worse to coordinate the murders of 500 people?
They're both wrong.
They're both terribly wrong. But the guy who should pay more is the one who is recruiting people, making it possible, resourcing them, training them, and then sending them out on these missions to murder people, right? Same thing here. Okay, so what we've got is we've got people who are actually coordinating these operations to steal people, to steal their lives, to destroy them utterly, to use them as tools, to use them as animals, right? These people need to pay more dearly than they can even imagine. And we need to make them pay in such a way that it deters other people in the future. There are 3 reasons you punish someone. One is to exact justice. One is to convince the person they don't ever want to do it again. And the third is as an example to everyone else who might consider doing this, right? Okay. The first thing is to exact justice. There is no higher call for the executive branch of the government other than to exact justice. That's why the executive branch exists, to execute the laws of the land. The laws of the land exist to uphold and defend your individual natural rights, and those of our kids, right? So the bottom line is, as your governor, as the chief of the executive branch, as the chief executive, I will consider it my mission. I will consider it my purpose in existing, not just in being governor, but in being alive, to exact justice. Because I believe that in exacting justice, we will protect the individual natural rights. Well, first of all, we'll uphold their rights. There's no difference between upholding them and protecting them. So upholding them means that when their rights are infringed upon, we hold people accountable. That's upholding them. Defending them means we actually prevent it from happening, which means that we will disassemble these criminal organizations, which I've spent a little time disassembling terrorist organizations in Iraq. I know a little bit about it. Same basic principles apply, okay? So the executive branch, as the chief of the executive branch, I will work hard to disassemble these criminal organizations. I will work hard to make sure that people pay. I will work hard to make sure that our policing agencies have the tools that they need to find these people, to bring them in. But to do this, to be successful, we have got to work as a society to accomplish a few things. We've got to keep an eye on the kids. We have got to convince people that there is something worth living for. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a Southern Baptist, okay? I'm not saying you have to attend a little white church. What I am saying is you have to believe there is something beyond what we have here. You have to believe that there is someone who is bigger, who is wiser, who is better, who is more powerful, and who is good with a capital G, who is holding us all accountable. Otherwise, none of this means anything. But most importantly, if you believe that, you can take that out to these kids and they will know. They will know there is a life beyond what they're experiencing, that they can escape this, that they can build a life for themselves, that they can actually have a decent life. Because what am I getting at here? Like we said, it's generational, it's cyclical. We have got to break the cycle, not just by holding the people who are organizing this and executing this accountable, not just by rescuing the kids from the situation, but once those kids are rescued, we have to provide them with a vision for their life that is beyond anything they've ever imagined. Presenting them with a vision of their life, of their future, that they can live up to. We have to do that, we the people. This is not necessarily the government's job. The government's job is to uphold and defend their rights, to hold people accountable, to dismantle the organizations that make this possible. That's not enough. We as a culture, we as a society have to come running to these kids and give them what they need. And they're not just kids, but the adults who come out of these lives too. Does anybody have any questions for me? I realize that I've kind of taken a broad brush shot at this, and that maybe there's some questions about how that might specifically apply. Barry hit a couple of those. I don't know if Kathy was going to talk. Kathy, were you going to address this issue? Okay, I'm here. If you have questions for me, shoot them at me, please. No? Okay. So does that mean y'all all agree with me that it's the government's job to uphold and defend individual natural rights, and it's the people's job to look out for the kids and then to provide them with an opportunity in the future? Okay, great. Barry, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I forgot to say, we're about ready to close down a little bit. I did forget to say in Charleston on October the 24th, there's a day-long event. Jaco Booyens is coming back, bringing it back, and we're having some other local experts, but we turned it into a day-long event to learn more about this matter, and I will post that link to the Facebook page here. So if you're interested, want to come to Charleston to learn a little bit more, October 24th.
That's Barry Holstein, so y'all can keep track of him on Facebook. All right, Roy, I believe I'm done. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.